Welcome, everyone that's here. For those of you that haven't done so yet, there is a poll up and maybe behind the Zoom meeting window. If you could fill that poll out for me, I'm just curious as to what types of people we're engaging, and don't worry if you don't feel like your answers are okay, except for question 5. There's only one right answer on question 5.
Absolutely.
So,
it's a very awesome bear.
all right, so welcome. This is the webinar for MSP Processes and Procedures and Policies, to help everyone here in the room, not just the panelists, but or not just the attendees. Even the panelists are going to learn something here today. So we've got 4 panelists. 3 of them are here now. Another one will be arriving approximately 45 minutes after we start, because he is in another webinar right now, educating people. So
He's a scoundrel. That's why he's not here.
It's because he is such an amazing guy that he couldn't commit to just one. So
he's everywhere.
So
he's already watching. So
he may be. So let me introduce our panelists real quickly. I have turned the 3 panelists that are here into co-hosts. So if you guys need to do anything like mute somebody or remove somebody from the room, feel free to do so. I do ask that everybody here be professional, be courteous. Nobody here is getting paid to do this. We're doing this because we want to help. So please just let us help, and we can have fun and draw whatever you want after this meeting is done. Okay. So we'll start with BJ, because he's going to be starting he's going to be kicking everything off. He's going to be talking about sales. BJ owns his own company. It is what's the name of your company?
My company name is eTop Technology.
Okay.
It's my last name backwards.
What better way to do it? It's a lot cooler sounding eTop than like Rollyat Technology. So
right.
Good job on that. So BJ, how long have you been doing this?
We've been in business officially about 4.5 years now.
And how many clients do you have, ballpark?
Around 75.
Okay. And how many endpoints are you managing?
Around 800.
Okay. So you got some fairly decent sized clients then. Good for you. How have sales been going for you lately?
We so far this year have almost beaten our entire sales for last year when it came to adding new endpoints on, and we have enough in our pipeline right now that we will probably triple what we did last year when it comes to adding new endpoints. So my goal is to add 300 complete premium managed service users by the end of the year, and we're almost 100 right now, and we did just under 100 last year.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Okay. And lastly, what do you think has been the biggest reason for your success lately?
Consistency for 4 years. I'll say that's probably the single biggest thing. And consistently revisiting the process and figuring out what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and how we can improve. By no means do I have what I would call a magic sauce or anything, but I feel like we're starting to have been around and existed long enough as a company and have done a functional process long enough that it's starting to really click when we talk to clients. We know a lot of what they're looking for. We're starting to really focus a lot more on one or two very specific verticals, and it's a lot easier to speak the language, and we're starting to make all the right relationships. So if they have a problem, we can speak to that problem a lot more directly. So just that and grinding. There's a lot of grinding.
Good for you, man. Okay. So next, let's move over to Ernest. Ernest owns his own company. Why don't you tell us your company name, Ernest?
Ernest Solutions.
It's easy enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ernest, how long have you had your company?
Registered it 10 years ago, started working on the business processes, took on the first client about 5 years ago.
And how many clients do you think you have today?
We've got a little over 130 right now.
Okay. And how many endpoints are you managing?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 to 1,200.
Good for you. So you are here to educate everybody on onboarding. So walk us through, like, a mile high overview. What does onboarding look like within your company?
So because of my background, I took onboarding and my clients in a different direction than most MSPs do. We really focus heavily on becoming a partner, not just a vendor. So our onboarding process is a 3-month process for every client, regardless of size. And we go through everything: hardware, software, what they do, their business processes, and look for ways to provide an outside view for our clients of their business and of their processes and of what they do. And that's been really successful for us.
Excellent. And our third panelist that we have here right now is Carlos. And his last name is a mystery to everyone.
That's okay. That's the way it should be.
Excellent. Carlos, tell us, what's your company name?
Company name is Brainstomp, and no, it was never meant to see the light of day, that name. Been in business for, I think, 14 years, maybe 15. I have to check the records. It's not neighborhood.
Okay.
Let's see. 2000, since 2003. How's that? Do the math.
That's fantastic. That's 14 years. How many clients? How many endpoints?
Tricky question. So managed clients, we're sitting at 20. And managed endpoints, we're sitting at 482, I think. It's in that neighborhood.
Okay.
Intentionally so. We'll get to that in a minute. In addition to that, I have consulting clients that add another 50 to 60 to the pile, 50 to 60 clients to the pile that are consulting only, and a few break fix that haven't seen the light yet, and figure another 15 break fix or so that haven't seen the light and haven't gotten into the MSP on board, which are soon going to become either ex-clients or they're going to be MSP because I'm tired of dealing with break fix.
Good for you, man. Excellent. So Carlos is going to be educating us on service delivery and how he performs his day-to-day operations within the company when it comes to providing tech support, service requests, project management, probably even how frequently he meets with a client to go over like maybe a quarterly business review or whatever he does. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that he can go over with us. And then finally, Ray Orsini will be joining us later. Like I said, he is in another webinar right now. So he'll be joining us later. Ray will talk about marketing, and we're actually going to do marketing last. And it's important that marketing kind of is last because, even though you've marketed, you've sold, onboarded, and you're providing services, you need to continue to market and get new clients. So it is a very circular thing we've got going here to manage an MSP practice. So with that, I'm going to pass the screen over to BJ, and we are going to just start popping into some questions. I have some questions that I want to go through first, but please, if any of you here have questions about any of the sales process stuff that he's doing, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will get through those as quickly as we can. So, BJ, what does I guess first of all, do you have like a sales cycle? Do you have like a process of here's what I need to do in order to take this lead and close them?
Yes, we have a pretty defined sales process from the first contact all the way through the onboarding. It's definitely still a work in progress, but I would say overall, So we have a full-time salesperson. That was actually our first hire. I figured I could handle all the tech for all the client base that we had when we started, and which wasn't many. And at that point, we just started walking in doors, figuring all it took was, the chance to walk in the door, and people would turn into clients, and sales would fall from the sky. Wrong. Apparently, I'm being told that I sound tinny, so I apologize. Is that better, Steve?
No.
Okay.
It's okay. We'll work through it, man.
We'll work through it. All right. So our sales process now, we have somebody walk in the door, and we're not even really trying to get to the decision maker at the first, like when you walk in the door. But we're trying to leave our packet, let people see what we let people have that. But then we, at that point, are able to do enough research on the back end, figure out, is it like an ideal client? Is it does it happen? One of the things that my salesperson said really kind of hit me is, are there cars in the parking lot? And is it a nice enough building that we'd want to service it? And that sounds kind of funny, and maybe but it's really helped us target companies that are growing. If there are no cars in the parking lot, why would I want to walk in the door? So then we do a lot of LinkedIn research. We do a lot of data.com research. We'll put them into our CRM, add them to LinkedIn. We'll send follow-up emails. We usually almost always can find the proper person to talk to by doing some LinkedIn research. And by doing that, it really helps us target in and find out if it's a company that we want to do business with. And if it is, then we start following up with that person until they either tell us to go away, which does happen, and we ask them to please tell us to go away if it's not something you're interested in, or we book a meeting and then move through our formalized sales process at that point. I was going to show a couple of, I have a basic workflow of what our sales process looks like here. Hang on. So this is what would be really nice, having all the customers contact us, etc. It's not super realistic. This is a lot closer to what actually happens. So we walk in door, CRM research, LinkedIn, MailChimp, follow up with phone calls. Typically we're somewhere between 7 and 15 calls and or touches before we book a meeting. We may need to do a better job in scripting to fix that, but we found that it takes somewhere between 7 and 15 calls for us to get into a meeting, book the meeting, start our opportunity. We do our initial sales meeting. The goal of the initial sales meeting is not for us to talk or tell them about who we are. They do not care. If they're sitting down and meeting with us, it's because they have a pain, they have frustrations. So our goal is to really listen and hear and see what's going on. And the reality is the tech really doesn't even matter in that first meeting. Being a fellow nerd, I love nothing more than the technology. It's so much fun. It's really, I got into this business because we could be nerds, and I love it. But the reality is the business operations, the business flow is really the part that matters. And hearing what they're sitting down with you for a reason. People do not switch IT providers just because. They usually have these long-term relationships, 5, 10, 20 years with their IT provider. Even if they dislike them greatly, they're probably not going to switch just because you're cute. You could be a lot better than their existing person. But if you don't have an extremely compelling value, or they really are in a dire place, or their current provider really botched something, they're probably not going to switch. So you have to figure out how to sell on value, and this is something we're really figuring out this year. Finally, is how do we sell on value and having a really amazing stack, so that way we can come in, show them how cool we are, and not just cool, but how much value we're bringing to them as a company. And then the goal of our first actual sales meeting is to hear the problems, but then book the technical discovery. And so we always do 2 or 3 meetings in this process. So we do the initial one, and if we can tack on a technical discovery during that initial meeting, then we do. If not, we always book a secondary meeting to do the technical discovery. And then when we're done with the technical discovery, we always book the client presentation. I never send out a proposal document to a client over the email. To me, that's the best way to lose a client or lose the proposal, because they're reading it. They have no idea what they're reading. I hate printing things out, but the one place we print a lot of things out in is our sales process, because people can identify, they can write in it. It gives them something to touch, and it gives them something to work from. I could be more technical in how I present it to them, but I found that just presenting it in paper really works well for them. Usually the deal that we're presenting is somewhere between $3,000 and $8,000 a month. And so we're probably not going to get a signature in that initial meeting, but we're always ready for them to sign. So we have all of our contracts, we have all of our, like basic onboarding packets ready to go. So we do our best to make sure that if they want to sign right then, they absolutely can. But that way they also have the ability to sign it when they are ready to sign it over the next week or two as they have their management meetings. Be ready for them to sign. If you're not ready, then people are, you have to be ready. If the client won't take the proposal delivery meeting, that's absolutely right, Aaron. If they won't take your meetings, they're probably not the right client. They're probably saving you a lot of headache. I understand that this has also changed a lot. In the first year that we were doing this, we took literally anything that moved and had a checkbook, and a few things that didn't have checkbooks. But now we are also at a place where we're a lot more stable and growing as a company, and so we can be a lot more. We can afford to be a lot more picky about who we choose. Also, it's really helped us identify what our ideal client is. I have our ideal client profile somewhere between 25 and 100 users, 10 to 100 million a year in revenue, stable management team. So they have the ability to make these decisions. They can make decisions.
And I'm sorry, what was the revenue?
Between 10 and 100 million. Typically those that are under zero, like 1 million to 10 million is not something, if they come to us, we'll be willing to work with them, but we're probably not going to hunt under that, because typically they're not willing to commit to the larger contracts that I want them to sign. But maybe that's just because I haven't figured out how to show value to the smaller clients yet. Alex, no, I do not charge for the technical discovery. I also don't give them a lot of fixes when I do the proposal, or it's like I'll tell them what needs to be fixed, but I don't tell them how to fix anything. The proposal is never, it's not a nerd time. The reality is you want to show them the value that you can bring them as a company. But I mean, all the fixes happen in the onboarding, in my opinion, and after that. Also for us, we found that it's really important to stay as local as possible. Even though we can do things remotely, we're trying to stay within about 30-35 minutes of our office, which is about, for us, it's what they call the Inland Empire. So it's 2 counties, Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Preferably they have under 5 locations. So if they have nationwide locations, that's fine. We have several clients with locations across the country. But their primary headquarters is in our backyard, so we can handle most of the work from there. Alex, as far as the time to get an average signed proposal, we're probably into 20 hours. So maybe a little more than that.
That's pretty impressive. So what you're saying is, from the time you do the presentation to the time you get the signed proposal back is sometimes less than a day, or most times less than a day?
I'm saying that's probably the time that I have invested into preparing for it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still pretty impressive that you're putting so much time into something that isn't going to make you money. So why aren't you charging some type of consultation fee or anything like that, like a lot of these companies are doing?
I'll be honest, I'm not really doing an audit necessarily, or analysis. I mean, I'm doing an analysis for my benefit, so I know what I'm getting into. So I have a hard time at the moment charging for an analysis that I feel is really for my benefit. Not to say that I wouldn't. If I was doing it solely for that purpose, then I probably would. But my goal is to land the managed service contract. And I feel like talking about money before you need to talk about money is probably going to really put a sour taste in their mouth. So I haven't found a good way to charge for it, I guess. And I don't know if charging for the technical discovery is really a great idea. I probably only spend about 2 hours doing the on-site technical discovery, and the rest of it is going through the reports we get out of Rapid Fire Tools. And at that point, there's a lot of time invested into the proposal and the project, or that part of it, but usually there's enough revenue generated off of that contract in a year that it's worth it. Well, not usually, every time. And I'm not doing it if it's not worth it in the long run.
Excellent. Now, how do you know, going back to your touches, you said it was, if I recall, 7 to 15 or so touches before you get the meeting.
Correct.
How do you know when to call them versus email them for these touches?
It's a good question. At this point, we pretty much just alternate back and forth. I wish I could say there was something really super refined for that. We're struggling a little bit with the CRM capabilities of Autotask at this point. I find that it's just not a really great CRM. I mean, it's really good for just, it's like a very good 1.0 CRM, but now we're starting to have CRMs that can do, like the HubSpots that can really tell you when people are interacting a lot more. So we have some consolidation we need to do there. But we pretty much alternate. So we'll schedule the phone calls and emails out. We also try to always add them on LinkedIn, because then LinkedIn reminds them that we have to have a pending friend or a pending request. So it kind of keeps us in front of them all the time without, we don't necessarily have to do it. So it's just more things.
Okay. And then so meetings 1 and 2 are strictly for information gathering, pain points, etc. And then meeting number 3 is the presentation.
Correct.
So how do you say, what do you think, Mr. Client? Want to write me a check today for $5,000? You're just sign here.
We actually, for the first time last month, had that happen. Somebody wrote us a check for almost $10,000 on the spot, which was kind of a big change of pace. I haven't ever had that happen before. So I'm definitely pushing to be as ready as we were for that meeting, so that way we can have that happen more. So I was pretty jazzed about that.
Awesome.
And then Nicholas asked if we have a sign-off before touching their systems. Technically we do. I don't think I've ever used it. I probably should use something like that more frequently. And that's, I try to, for me, I'm typically a very relational person, so I have a very hard time doing the paperwork and some of that back-end stuff. So that's something that's a personal thing that I'm working on. So that's probably something that Ernest has extremely well done, or extremely well documented. So I'm hoping to learn from him on that.
Excellent.
But, I also have a couple of, here's some of our flyers. I'll just show them real quick. So we do a lot of ISP sales. That has been a nice, so we interact so much with the client's environment anyway, that if we can make a few percentage points on their internet as well, that's a nice ad. This one's, just different things we do here. This is our managed services flyer. And so these are some of the leave behinds that we do. And here, let me show you some of the picture of what it looks like completely done. So this is our two pocket folder. And this is what it looks like all put together. So we have, they're all cut properly here, so they all line up and it's all pretty so. The other nice thing about having these is that they're nice enough that people feel bad throwing them away. And so we found these things on people's desks, months after we stopped in and when we finally get the meeting. So Yeah, we actually just go in and drop these off with a receptionist and ask them to give them to the person in charge of IT. And then we end up following up with that person. And I'd say about 50% of the time, they still have this folder even after 3, 4, 5 months.
That's fantastic, man. All right. Well, does anyone have any other questions for BJ with the sales portion?
Eric, I saw the MailChimp. What do we include in our MailChimp? Okay, so this is technically a little more on the marketing side, but I'll share it. So we have several things that we do. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out to every single person on our MailChimp. And we do all of our client communication for like maintenance schedules and everything through MailChimp, so we can tell if people are reading it, that sort of thing. We also have a YouTube channel, so we've been building, we have over 50 videos on it now. And so every time we make a new video that has to do with something that would be useful to a client, we send it out to everyone. So here's a link to that, if I can get it to go. I'll post a link here in a second. Dominic, all those docs are things that we've made or had somebody made. So we didn't actually make these in-house. We had one of our teams make them. And then Carlos, we actually do participate.
Was this document like a $5 or did you pay big money to have this made?
Oh, I paid a lot more for this than $5. So when we had our website, and we did a complete rebranding about 2 years ago now. And so that's where we got the logo and everything redone. And so as part of our website redesign, it was a couple $100 extra for them to redo all of our documentation as well. So Paul, yes, we do. Typically when we go in and get a business card, it's less that we get the business card of the person that matters, and it's more that we can get their email. We know what their email formatting looks like. Again, I know this sounds kind of funny. We're not necessarily looking to get the person's name right off the bat, but between LinkedIn and like data.com, we can almost always determine who do we need to talk to. And if we know what their email format is, we can guess their email formatting like 99% of the time. And yes, LinkedIn is definitely a gift from the gods when it comes to business sales. And Alex, the proposal that we're referencing, it's onboarding and managed services. So to me, you don't do managed services without the onboarding. It's one thing. Carlos, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, I was making sign language. It's all in the same. You can't do managed service without the onboarding, and doing onboarding without managed service is kind of pointless and losing money and time.
Exactly. The onboarding is extremely time intensive. Caleb, typically I charge double first month because it's a lot of extra time. We have up to this point said 1 month for onboarding, but as we're doing more of it, we're realizing that it's taking more time than we initially thought to do it right. And then after reading so much of Ernest's stuff on Discord, honestly, I find myself pushing it out that, just setting the expectation for 2-3 months starts being a lot better, because it gives you time to really get to know the client. That first couple of months, you have a lot more, it's just better to take a little bit more time and get to know the client better.
So that is a great segue to move into the onboarding portion.
All right, your turn, Ernest. Now I can stop talking for a minute.
So I am going to spotlight Ernest. I'm going to launch a new poll, so that way everyone can answer some questions for us, so we can see what you guys are doing today with onboarding, and so we can also pick on BJ a little bit. So while everyone's doing that, Ernest, okay, so customer sign. So BJ did his job. Customer signs the check, the contract. Here's a check for 10 grand. Now what?
Well, briefly before we jump into that, I'm going to show this off, and I'll send out the link to this as well, so that you guys can have it. But this is the IT assessment confidentiality agreement that we provide to clients during the sales process, as before we run the rapid fire tools. And this is set up as a template in DocuSign, so it's real easy to, the blanks are already there. I just plug in the customer's information and send it. The reason that this is important is not because it covers me. This document has nothing to do with me. If you read through it, you discover that this document has everything to do with the client and with their confidential information and how we use their confidential information and how we'll destroy their confidential information when they ask for it. That's why it's important, because it's showing to the client during the sales process that you are valuing them and that you're valuing their infrastructure and what they're doing. So, and this, by the way, is directly out of Rapid Fire Tools. This is something that they provide as a template that I've taken and modified slightly. So that's all this is. This is directly out of Rapid Fire Tools and something that they provide. But that's why we have that document. That's why it exists. So onboarding. Well, before I get into onboarding, let me briefly tell you my story, because it directly relates to why we do onboarding the way that we do it. 10 years ago, like I said, I knew I wanted to get into technology, running my own business. I started initially right out of high school as serving 911 communication centers. And so dealing with mission critical infrastructure was something that was really cool. I loved it. When we moved to Oregon, I started working for a small break fix company that then converted to a managed service provider. So as a part owner of that company, I actually put all of the processes in place, and that's where I started my documentation and did a lot of experimenting to learn about the MSP process. Then I left there and moved to one of the largest managed service providers in the state of Oregon. And these guys from the outside looked like they had it all together. Lots of clients, lots of employees, everything was phenomenal. The challenge they had is when I started, they had no tools, no RMM, nothing, but they had great customer communication and their clients loved them because of it. So even though they had terrible tools, but great communication and interaction with the clients, their customers, they were very successful in their own right because of that. So when I started out on my own, there were some things that were very important to me. The first one is client experience first. So everything that we do and everything that's involved in our company is based around what the end user and what the owner and what the client cares about. And it's their experience, how they interact with us, how they see us. Clients care about the relationship. Do you know me as a client? Don't we love that with our vendors? That's one of the things we love about working with Ray in the Discord channels, because he's there. We can ping him. We can ask him questions. There's the relationship piece of it, and so customers care about the relationship. They want a partner, not a vendor. A lot of MSPs are very focused on, here's the technology we provide, not the relationship, not the partnership that we're providing to you. Clients care about responsiveness. Are you there when I need you? Clients care about consistency, both in how you respond to them and in how their systems run. And so for us, or for me, to meet those points, the relationship, the responsiveness, and the consistency, means I had to outsource my busy work. And so that's why the help desk and the network operations center is run through Continuum, because it keeps our focus, both me and the techs, on the clients, not the technology, not managing the day-to-day busy work. So from the onboarding perspective, our focus is to provide low impact. All of our systems and software has got to be lightweight so that the customers can continue doing what they're doing. We care very heavily about consistency and security. Prevention, we don't want problems to happen, and that's why we go through a 3-month onboarding process, is because we want to own everything technical at that client.
Uh-oh. Ernest, your sound just cut out. I don't know what happened.
Ernest.
Okay, so it's not me.
No, so,
I can't hear him either.
until he can't hear us, I'll inject this, and this is something I wanted to say while he was going through, and that is one of the best pieces of advice I got in this arena was from my accountant, and he said, I try to be my client's consigliere, and that's what you should do as well. You should try to be your client's consigliere. It isn't just about technology. It is about creating a
Either
relationship.
Carlos is speaking and I can't hear him, or
Hey, we hear you now.
Hey, we hear you now.
There we go.
sorry.
It's okay. We missed like the last 2 minutes, so it was like
I'm sorry about that.
we were trying to decide if we could lip read fast enough to get in the chat.
So, I'll back up a little bit. So we really focus heavily on my headset went to sleep. It tends to do that. So we focus heavily on security. We focus heavily on prevention. And the way that we focus on prevention is by owning everything from internet and phones to domain and web hosting to network hardware and power distribution to the client's own internal processes. That's why we take 3 months to onboard a client. That's why it takes so long, because wouldn't it be amazing? You're all business owners. Wouldn't it be amazing if someone came in from one of your vendors came in and gave you an outside perspective of, hey, here's where your bottlenecks are. Here's an employee who's stuck doing something manually that could be automated. And so as our clients' IT experts, as their in-house IT department, if you will, we take on that responsibility of going through that during the onboarding process and really sitting down with each individual end user and each employee to find out what they do and how they do it, and how we can improve it for them. So sometimes it's they're using a piece of software that could be better, that they could use a different piece of software. When possible, we look to build relationships and partnerships with those software vendors and with those companies so that we're making some MRR off of it and we're experts in it and we know how it works, so that we can help the client with their internal processes. And by doing that, we eliminate the majority of our support calls. I mean, when something comes in, it is an actual problem. It's my Outlook stopped working this morning, or it's something that's a real issue. It's not, we've prevented the majority of the challenges and processes that come in. Yeah, and Eric, that's a great question. So if your help desk and knock is outsourced, what are you doing and your tech's doing on a day-to-day outside of the sales and relationship building? That is what we're doing on a day-to-day. It's all about relationship building, and it's all about the documentation. That is what our focus is. We let find the best of the best to operate the back end of things. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that Continuum's the best help desk or the best network operations center, but that the backup systems that we're using, the antivirus, anti-malware, is the best that we could find. It's the best that we can see. And we're constantly looking for constantly evaluating new stuff to see if there's something better out there that's lighter weight, that's easier, that prevents more problems. So, yes, it was announced that Continuum was Continuum they moved from one private equity company to another private equity company. It's just part of normal process. As far as I see a lot of questions here about rapid fire tools. Rapid fire tools, I do not use the Exchange, HIPAA, or SQL modules, but my clients are very small. We have a different focus than a lot of you. Our focus is specifically on clients that have 1 to 30 employees and who are in that require specialized security and compliance requirements. Let's see here. So rapid fire tools, I put together a video. I'll have to see if I can dig that up on how we use rapid fire tools. So I will post a link to that shortly as well. Continuum getting purchased, not a huge deal. It's just something that happens when your company gets to the size that Continuum is. All right, so onboarding. I've got a very massive document. I'm not going to show or share the whole thing. I will share the first piece of it, and you can take this and do what you will with it. Let me share screen here, because it's the process is very specific to our business and how we do it, not the way you do business. The way you do business is going to be different. You're going to have a different client focus. Grab onto that, use that to develop the documents yourselves. Statement of purpose. So our onboarding purpose is to, I always put a statement of purpose at the top of all of our documents. That way somebody can glance over this and understand why this document exists and why it's important. Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Awesome. Statement of purpose. This is the what's in it for me. Unless you provide your technicians and your clients a what's in it for me, they won't do it. There's just a simple fact of human knowledge and humanity. If there's nothing in it for me, they're not going to do it. So statement of purpose is very important. What we're going through here is, our goal is to establish rapport with each end user. We want to learn in depth about them, their process, their organizations, their goals. And then we want to develop a plan, and this is key, to integrate, automate, and simplify their workflow. The results, this is what's going to come out of the end of the onboarding process. We will have rapport with each end user. Now, what that means is that they know us. It means that we know them, they know us. There's some establishment of trust that's happened there with each of the end users.
And that's so important, to make sure everyone knows, likes, and trusts you.
Exactly. And this is also this is a really important thing that I found as well. Find out at least one personal fact about each end user. Kids' names, favorite sports, etc. We document this for the team and the help desk, the Continuum help desk staff. They will use this, especially when a customer calls in and they're frustrated and their things aren't working right and they need help now. And so the help desk staff is really good at redirecting that customer's angst. But they can't do it if they don't have the documentation, if they don't have something to help establish that relationship. And that's what having this information does. It distracts the end user from the pain that they're in. In-depth knowledge about the organization's goals and plans. Where are they going? What are they doing? We've got a document we fill out in IT Glue that's called Client Goals, that is especially for that. And it's just paragraphs after paragraphs of here's where they came from, where they're headed, what they're trying to accomplish. Documentation of each user's bottlenecks. So we talked about this briefly earlier, but employees have complaints. And what's amazing is how much visibility an employee has within the company, because they're in it every day. So they know where the bottlenecks are. And if you talk to them and listen to them, which a lot of times the owners won't do because they're tired of the complaining, you can find out a lot about the company and find out a lot about how you can help them.
Hey, Ernest.
Yes, sir.
So where are you storing all of this documentation? Are you putting it all in IT Glue or something else?
So that's a great question. We're really, really, really hoping that Continuum comes out with IT Glue integration. I've heard that it was something that in their recent internal meetings was mentioned by every single department. So right now we're having to store it in two places. We're putting it in IT Glue for ourselves, and we're also putting it into Continuum's documentation system. So first into IT Glue, then we copy it over into Continuum. And we go through and sync those up occasionally because they do get out of sync. It is a manual process. It is a bottleneck within our own stuff. So our PSA, what about your PSA or CRM system? So our PSA system is a Cello, and it is used purely for ticketing. That's all it's used for. And the CRM system is it's just used by myself for as a sales tool. We're using Agile for CRM and sales processing. And Robert, we don't have a minimum user requirement because all of our processes are so highly automated that I can be successful and profitable with a one-person company as well as up to about a 30. Now, I don't go above 30 because once you hit that level, you start dealing with a lot of internal politics, middle managers, that sort of thing. And that was what we were trying to avoid. We want to directly work with the end users and directly work with smaller companies. which is in our area a highly overlooked market. So we're different to MSP. That doesn't mean we're necessarily doing it the way you do it or the right way for you. BJ's got a fantastic process going there with the larger companies, and it's going to be a little different from place to place. No, I do not have a minimum spend per client. We'll have clients that are as low as $90 a month who come on board. And they turn out, the reason that those work out for us is because they become passionate about our service, and they help spread the word to the larger companies that they work with. Also, they're very easy. They don't call in. And when they do, they get the help desk, and it's some really simple, hey, how do I open a new email in Outlook kind of thing. So documentation and installation of the applications used. We go through, again, each individual workstation with each end user and sit down with them for 30 to 45 minutes. And what's critical here, what's important, is this word right here that says used. Because you can use tools to find out what's installed on the system, but do they actually use the software that's installed on the system? So we want to find out what software they use and how they use it. And we use that to develop the business continuity plans. This is kind of an example of what that might look like within our documentation. What's the name of the workstation, who's the primary user, and what's their role, and what software do they use, and how important is it to their business. So when the system dies, because at some point, you know it's going to happen, a hard drive is going to fail, something random is going to happen, and this computer is going to fail. When it does, we want the documentation to know that we've got to get QuickBooks on their new system fast. We've got to get Adobe Reader on their system fast. AppAttracts, not very important. They don't really log into it that often. So we can deploy without that and come back that night or later in the day to put that additional software in place. Because once again, as the customer's IT partner, as their business partner, we want their employees to work and to always be working. And rapidly getting something up, if we can get a workstation up with just QuickBooks and Adobe Reader and do it in 30 minutes rather than having to wait 45 to get tracks on, that's more time that they're able to work. Now for the first couple of weeks, I've got things laid out here on a day-by-day basis, and then after that it just goes into processes and the busy work of making it happen. So day 0, we're going to find out and get all of our clients set up. Now WHMCS is our billing system and our client front end. We're going to generate our ARM and install files. We're going to go through the day 0, which is a Wednesday. Before we go on site, we're going to go through and figure out and get a list of things, do a little prep work ahead of time, starting their domain transfer, starting their email migration if they have it, etc. And then after the client closes, so after end of day for them, once their office is closed, we'll go through and start doing server cleanup and installing the RMM on the servers so that it's in place. We don't do that during business hours because that could make an impact or cause a problem, or we have to reboot or something. So after hours for that. Day 1. This is probably the biggest factor our clients love us for. We like to bring food. We're on site 30 minutes before the client opens. This is on purpose because we want to see who shows up. We want to know who's there, who the first person is through the door, so that we know who to reach out to if there's something that's on site that we need to take care of first thing in the morning if we need them to reboot something. This also tells us how they operate. Do they have workers that show up in trucks beforehand and go into the back? Do they have all of these types of little details are important for the person who's going to be taking care of it. So what time is it? The time for lunch. So we're documenting that. Who's the first person in the door? We're taking notes on their opening process, where they go, what they do. Some of this stuff seems benign. Why do we care about their blinds and their open signs and that sort of thing? It's because it tells us a lot more about the company, about who they are, and what's important to them. Because what's important to them is what they're going to be doing first thing in the morning. As the employers walk in the door, we greet them. We identify ourselves. We've got, the branded with the shirts. We get their names and figure out who their primary workstations are. We'll wander the office for a little bit as users settle in. This is important because you don't want to jump right in and dive into the middle of a customer's workflow, especially a brand new client. They're going to hate you.
Well, it seems like his headset timed out again. So that's pretty damn brilliant, though. That 30-minute thing, that's...
is to listen.
There you go.
Am I back again?
Yes, you just came back. And Carlos, man, I agree. I'm totally stealing all of the stuff.
This is phenomenal. Can we just have the first... I know you said you're only going to give us a little bit. Can we just have all 90 days? That'd be so.
Ernest, as a guy that doesn't share any of his internal process, you're sharing an awful lot. And thank you. That's amazing.
Yes.
You're welcome. I like to, I know that it's taken a lot of time and effort for me to put this together, but I think this is important, and I think it's something that's missing in our industry, and especially if I can help people across, across the country, improve their businesses and processes, because MSPs tend to focus on the technology side and not the people side. So yeah, you're welcome. All right, so this is also important, really, really important. Listen. We're listening for what's going on, because just sitting in an office, you'll overhear all kinds of wonderful little comments, and it really gives you an insight into the company and where potential bottlenecks are. We meet with the primary contact after they've had a chance to settle in for the day. This is typically like 10 or 11 o'clock, once they've had their first couple of cups of coffee and gotten through their email. You'll also notice this is on a Thursday, so we're wrapping down towards the end of the week here. We're going to go over the mailbox list from Skykick, identify active user shared mailboxes, etc. It gives them a great starting point for, hey, why is that email address still in there? That person hasn't been here for 5 years. Got it, Steve. Day 2, and then we just go around to each of the workstations and we start this process. And this process could take a couple of days depending on how many end users there are. Day 2, that's when we start troubleshooting, because when you install your RMM, antivirus, any malware, it's going to cause something somewhere to happen. We build that time into day 2, which is a Friday, to sit down and do that. And that's also when we install the backup software. And then the following Monday is writing documentation. Clients don't want you on site on a Monday. They just don't. You don't want to be on site on a Monday. So if the client calls about any issues, we go on site to take care of them for the first couple of weeks. We want them to see us and continue to build that rapport. So I will go ahead and provide this document and send it out. Before I wrap up here, what questions do we have?
I think the biggest questions are going to be, can I have your documentation? Please take my money.
You could very easily sell that documentation to us, and I know I'd be willing to buy it.
Yeah. Seriously think about that, Ernest. And okay. It sounds like many people here would love for you to continue, and I would love for you to continue as well. However, we just don't have time. We've got 2 more people to get through and only 35 minutes left to go. However, if Ernest has time and if anyone else wants to stay once we are done, then we could continue this conversation. However,
Ernest, my boss in the chat just said, take my money. So there you go.
There we go.
Pam Felix, that's his boss. Yeah. So, all right. I do commend you, because this is phenomenal information that you've shown us. I mean, just the fact that you've got it, this is what you do on day 1. Like, mind blown. So kudos.
It's been very, very helpful for us. As far as focus for smaller clients, how many touches does it take to sign? So for us, it depends on the client. It really does. If it's a smaller 1 or 2 person shop, they typically sign on the first we walked in the door. no one else has walked in the door. Where do we sign? For the larger companies, it takes significant. It can take 3-4 trips out there.
Excellent. And how many do you have like a 2 or 3 meeting process like BJ does?
Yes, it's typically an introduction and then a technical review, and then we'll come back and provide a proposal. Again, it's important to do that in person. We will send the proposal out via email, typically as we're arriving at the customer site, just because they like that. They like to be able to see it, look at it, and even though we've got a physical printed out copy for them, they like it electronically as well. So.
And I just noticed that John Hellman has his hand up. He hit the raise hand button. I'm going to lower it. John, if you have a question that has not been answered yet, please let us know. That was for no. Okay. Excellent. So Ernest, I really do. I appreciate this, and I'm going to have to pick your brain later. Carlos, my man.
I'm afraid I am not anywhere near as interesting as the first two fellas.
I get the feeling that's not the case. I'm already interested to hear more about what you do, just from some of your comments.
Well, Steven said to focus on the service delivery aspect of things. What do we do? How do we do it? So I'll start with, we use ConnectWise for client management, and LabTech or ConnectWise Automate, whatever they call it today, for our RMM. So things that we do on a regular basis, things that we have the RMM automated, not just on each month, but sometimes daily, are things like on day 2, the Yahoo toolbar thing, where it's important to someone. Well, I'm sorry, the Yahoo toolbar has no purpose in a real business environment, and I have scripts that automatically detect that you have the Yahoo toolbar, and out the door it goes. I don't care, because we try to own the IT process, just as Ernest mentioned, and if we manage all of it from start to finish, our tickets per endpoint are way down, right? It is our tickets per endpoint quickly diminish after onboarding, because we start getting rid of all the problems. So users that have things that we do with the RMM. Let me back up. We check the RMM gets deployed at night. We don't want to impact the daily process, just as Ernest mentioned. We do 90% of our work at night. Again, if I steal 10 minutes from user X during the business day that isn't required for that user to get work done, I'm taking productivity away from that business owner, and that means my bill is no longer X. My bill is X plus the lack of productivity from that user. So we start work primarily when our customers are finishing. What do we do during the day? Things that either are sales or marketing related, and on-site calls. We find that coming into the site, even though we can do this remotely, right? Like, oh, we need a new user created. Well, I'm going to be there today anyways. Let me go take care of that there. We can do that remotely, of course. But the touchy-feely aspect of them seeing you on a regular basis, and they know that they're going to have someone there pretty regularly, keeps that relationship going. Anyhow, back to the service delivery aspect. Wake up, open the RMM. Dashboard tells me everything that I need to know at a glance, so that the real painful aspects are in red. A backup didn't complete. Antivirus didn't complete a scan or found something wonky. These are things that we deal with first thing in the morning, right? We wake up, this gets looked at. Then we look at performance reports on a daily basis, make sure that we're maintaining a level of service above our own threshold. Our threshold, LabTech has a reporting system that gives you percentages, and we want all of our clients to be at 95% or above overall. So you could have 20 endpoints, all in 19 are at 100%, and you're going yes, and then you have one endpoint that is at 0% is causing you a problem in your report, because we ought to, part of what the customer gets on a daily basis are those reports, and most of them actually are starting to look at them now. Most of them are looking at them and going, hey, how come we dropped from 95 to 94%? And aren't we trending already in that area? So what do we need you for? Well, by the way, the reason you need us is because we're doing all of this in the background. Let's see. We show value to the client with those reports. Those reports include specifically, hey, this is where we are before we started with, before you started with us. We'll send them those reports before we start doing work. And inevitably, those reports are showing usefulness of somewhere less than 70%. And after we start onboarding and start rolling things out, we climb those things and we maintain them high. The idea being they see that we're continually working to maintain their network where it needs to be, right? How do you reach out after a standard service request? Well, that depends. Most of the time it's by email. Sometimes it's by a call. If it needs interaction with the user's desktop, we call or we email and say, when specifically can I do this on your system? I don't want to interrupt your business flow unless you know that I'm going to do so, because barging in on the user is disrupting their business flow, number one. Number two, it can create embarrassing moments. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've remoted I've hit the remote in button before inadvertently and been on someone's remote session and seen things that I never wanted to see. Things that scar your cornea, like you can never get out of there. Yeah. And so if you reach out and say, hey, I need to remote in, you sent in this ticket for this printer this morning, I need to reach out and I need to remote in and take care of that for you. Can I remote in now? Oh, no? Great. I'll wait. How long do I need to wait? Great. Oh, I'm good now? Great. Now I'm connected. Now whatever embarrassing thing they had on the screen is gone. My eyes and the eyes of the techs that work for us don't have to be scarred that way. That plus, sometimes it is an embarrassing thing. Sometimes it's regulated things that we have no business knowing, right? So if they're dealing with a credit card or a social security number or health information, if we barge in without notice, we might be seeing things that we're not supposed to see. And then we have to deal with compliance in that level, which adds more headache to my business and adds more cost. And I don't want that. So it's easier to just preemptively say, hey, I need to remote in, assuming that needs to happen during the day. SLAs, it depends on the level of MSP for the client. We have two flavors right now. We have the basics and everything. The basics have an SLA of 2 days. Everything has an SLA of 4 hours. We try to keep everything under 4 hours anyway, because we've managed to automate things to the point where, I mean, my ticket board is sitting pretty empty most of the time, or pretty close to empty, or pending things that are out of my control. So if one of my basics MSP client sends me a ticket right now and I'm get done with this and I have time to do it, well, I'm not going to wait 2 days to do it. I'm going to try to provide as proactive a solution for them as I can to make sure that they're happy with us, right? And maybe that quicker response time teases them into, hey, if they're doing this good for us on the basics, they could do even better on the full services. And maybe we can follow that up by upgrading them later and say, hey, all these tickets you see, we're being very proactive in getting them taken care of for you. So the actual, time it takes to respond to a ticket depends on how busy we are. But for the all-you-can-eat everything is included is 4 hours or under, we definitely have to have an email to them saying, or a call to them saying, yes, how can we address this for you? Now, great. No, not now, whenever. Just we have to have that done. The basics, if you will, it's the 2-day thing, and sometimes it takes a day. How do you actually accomplish SLAs? What's in place to handle that, and it can be automated somehow? Yes, SLAs are handled on ConnectWise. We have a dashboard that tells us the age of a ticket and classifies it between it being an all-you-can-eat client or a basics client. We have an email address that the client would send tickets to, or they can call the office. Either one of those will get a ticket generated for them, and we handle the SLA based on age, based on the type of client and the age of the ticket. Sometimes, like I said, the basics, you know what? It's 4:55 and the gym is calling me. I'll call Jimmy tomorrow. That's what they pay for. Do I have any templates? Sorry, no, I don't have any templates. I didn't prepare well enough. I've been on the road for a week, and what little I share, I would have had to do real work to get that done, and I'm very sorry. Ernest did it. Like, he puts us to shame. The rest of this stuff is all done with automating through, at least for us, through LabTech. So scripts to install software, whenever possible, I do that through LabTech scripting. Script to uninstall software, whenever possible, I do that through LabTech scripting, so that we can look at what the client has installed, if they, for some reason, are allowed to install things, which most of the time we try to minimize that. Whenever possible, we take away the rights of the user to do that. And I'm sure the rest of us do that here. If you're not doing it, you're doing yourself a disfavor. You're creating yourself more tickets than you need. However, there's some softwares to this day that will not run properly without local admin rights, which means the user gets to install junk. So especially during onboarding, all of the crapware that's out there, we have scripts for almost everything to get rid of that. And we let them know ahead of time, hey, look, all this crap is going because this is not productive, and it's costing you time at the employees level, and it's going to cause us problem, and we're here to prevent the problem to begin with. So we have a question here. We have to ensure clients are still aligned to your process and their MSA months, years later. We're continually managing their network, so there ain't much that there ain't much that they do that I don't know about already. Did I answer that to your satisfaction? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding the question right.
No, I think you understood the question perfectly.
So, I mean, we don't sit on our laurels and wait for things to happen. We are proactively taking care of the network. To that end, I don't know if any of the rest of you are doing this or not, but we eat our own dog food. That means before we patch our clients' servers and workstations, we patch our own. We have in-house lab that runs lots of the same similar stuff to make sure that the patches, be it Microsoft or software specific, don't break our clients' ability to work today or tomorrow morning when they come in. We schedule our maintenance windows at night. We do most of our work at night to make sure that, again, they're not impacted. I already said that. Our RMM is continually just going through either software that isn't listed as black or white. If it's white listed, we're okay. If it's black listed, and it triggers an automatic uninstall. And the software that isn't listed, we're continually scouring, going through, okay, this is good, this is good, this is bad, and we just continually move things to where they need to be, so that then if it's bad, we also create custom, all the scripting is custom. So we just create custom scripts to uninstall the stuff we don't want on the client end. The idea being, we're admittedly a small company. We have 2 full-time folks. We have 4 part-timers that we call on to do work for us as needed. these are all subcontractors, and the only way you get to be to where we are with a small company as we have is to squeeze as much efficiency out of the process as possible. So I think BJ said something about continually looking at what's new and improving, or it might have been Ernest, and we're always in that cycle. Part of what we do during the day when we don't have hard things to do is, well, we're pretty set on this backup software, but is this new thing better, and can we generate better value for the client with that software than with what we have? The only way to find that out is to test in-house, right? Or to get a demo unit and test, within our own processes. And if it is, then great, we're going to start phasing things out. But similarly to Ernest, we own the firewall. We own content filtering through OpenDNS. We own the antivirus. We own the malware prevention. We just stay on top of it to just keep. It's just keeping the bad things out. I mean, I think half the problem, half the battle, I should say, is preventing problems to begin with. And if you prevent the problems to begin with, then you can focus on making things better for the client. Okay, so hey, you're looking at perhaps going to the next version of the software. Let's set up a test environment. Let's test it before we go live. Let's make sure that this is going to work out for you. Let's make sure that the menu structures aren't going to change so much that you can't get your work done the day we go live or for the week after, right? So there's a lot of weird or fine stuff that happens on the back end so far as service delivery, and it just depends on the client specifically, because some clients have a lot of software's client specific. NapaTrax is for service shops. Well, QuickBooks heavily is going to be more on the accountants, right? So almost everybody runs QuickBooks anyways, but it's not across the shop. It's only one or two people. Let's see. Do I see a question here? I missed a question here.
Yes. Did you answer the question about change management?
I didn't see a question about
do you have a change management process in place to document when changes are made for client systems?
All inside of LabTech. I mean, inside of ConnectWise. So yes, we manage anything that needs to be changed gets documented. Hey, this needs to happen, and when it happens, time is entered in ConnectWise under a separate ticket for it, saying this happened and this is how how we got it done, so that we can at least roll back and go, oh, when that problem start? Yeah, that started on Tuesday. Well, that's fun because we made a change to the software on Monday night. Let's look and see if we missed something in the test, right? Was there something else? Did I miss something else?
Did you talk about the quarterly meetings and site reviews and all that?
No, I didn't. That's actually some of the stuff we do during the day, right? So we have a yearly budgeting meeting, and that typically happens towards August, September, because inevitably they're not going to meet with their accountant to find out what their projections are for the year until October, because people don't start closing things down until about then, right? Then we have quarterly meetings we establish the budget, we establish what we're going to do in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and as we go through those through the year, we're going to meet quarterly to, okay, I know that you don't want to spend money right now because you want to wait until October because you got to wait for your account to tell you, yeah, you made money, but guess what? You've been making money for the last 20 years. I guarantee you're going to make money this year. Let's not pile all of the work on October through December. It's just not going to work, right? So we have those meetings to push at least the IT budget agenda forward. Hey, your switches are 10 years old. We talked about replacing half of them in Q1 and half of them in Q2. It is Q1. We need to get that on order. Yeah, no, not next week. Q1 started today. Let's get it on order today so that we can install them next week. to prevent everything piling on at the end of the year. Because if you let them to their own devices, they will pile everything on at the end of the year. At least that's been our experience. We've been doing this for, I think, 14 years. And it wasn't until we started doing the proactive MSP thing saying, no, you've been making money. Let's project things through the year so that we don't have all this heap of work. That we were able to start managing some of the rush towards the end of the year. And there's still a rush. I don't know about you guys, but we still have a rush at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think a lot of us do, because people are like, oh, I better spend a bunch of money so I can write off some extra taxes.
exactly.
Like, oh, surprise, I made money this year.
You know, never mind the fact that you've been making money for the last 20 or 30 years you've been in business. I get it. I'm a business owner. I get it. I'm always uncertain. I got to look at my books and I go, do I really want to? And then I have to bite the bullet, because if I expect my clients to follow through with the same budget that I asked them to follow through, I have to follow through with mine, right? Eat your own dog food in all senses of the word, not just in technology, but in everything business related. What I was saying when Ernie went when muted the first time, and that is that one of the greatest pieces of advice I got was from my accountant when we started doing this, and that is become your client's consigliere. It takes a lot of time and effort, and you have to actually care about them. But if you become their consigliere, they're going to come to you with questions not just about technology. They're going to come to you with questions about everything else. And if, we're in a privileged position that we, at least, I know we do, and several of our colleagues in the same line of business we don't just focus on one type of business. Hey, look, you're willing to pay my fees, I'm willing to work for you, sort of. I won't do work for politicians. Flat out, will not do it. I find them to be the scum of the earth, but we'll talk about that later. Anyhow, if by virtue of being in so many types of businesses, we see business process, and if we pay attention, we can learn a lot about business processes that may carry from one industry to another, and they may be completely unrelated, but ultimately quality control is quality control is quality control. And if you're seeing a problem in the quality control department of one of your clients, you can say, hey, by the way, Mrs. CEO, or, I'm seeing this over here, and I realize this is not technology related, and I'm just telling you that I've seen this many other places dealt with this way. And most of the time they listen and take your advice, and now you just became even more valuable than just the IT team. You became part of the business team, and ultimately they're in business to make money just like we are. So if you help them make money, they're going to love you more, which means ultimately you're going to make more money because they keep on loving you, right? So try to become, if you actually care, become that your client's consigliere. If you do, you're going to reap the benefits of it.
So I'm gonna bring up the last couple of questions, and unfortunately we'll have to move on, Carlos, because we do only have a short bit of time left. So Carlos, do you have account managers or any salespeople or anything like that, or is that you?
That's the boss and I, right?
Okay.
Like I said, we are intentionally a small company. We've had employees before. It hasn't really worked out properly, and I am sick and tired of dealing with that headache. So basically, we've capped ourselves in growth intentionally because we just don't want to deal with the headache of employees, at least not full-time employees. So yes, Pam and I are CEOs, CTOs, sales, technical, this, that, the other, every possible thing you can imagine. Yes, we are, just as most of you folks are. At the same time, we know that we're not accountants. We hire an accountant. We know we're not lawyers. We hire lawyers. We know we're not, designers. We hire designers to make our marketing stuff. So you have to offload some of the busy work. You have to offload as much of the busy ways you can possibly afford to offload, because that gives you time to do the things that you're good at, which hopefully is developing the business and being technology savvy. Carlos, how do you take a vacation? I don't. We take vacations sort of. Wherever we go, we have to be connected. We have a couple of a couple of friends that have MSPs as well that are really close friends of ours, and we rely on them. Basically, we send tickets their way, and they close them for us. They take care of anything that we need to be taken care of. At the same time, that's how they tend to take vacations. We're planning on going on vacation these weeks. Can you cover for us? Sure, no problem. But it takes a special relationship to be able to do that, because I don't trust my business to just anyone. I have high standards, and so do they. So that's how we deal with vacation time. So every morning we spend a couple hours doing work, and then we go do whatever we want.
Now, how much of your day-to-day stuff is automated?
All of it, as much as I can. I can't tell you exactly, because any process that we find ourselves doing more than a couple of times, we find a way of automating. There's no good reason for us to continually do the same work over and over and over again. Why do we have computers? Computers are there to facilitate our lives, not for us to be facilitated, to them. So anything that's repeatable is automated.
And then, do you have regular meetings, whether it's daily or weekly, with your team to make sure everybody's on the same page for your service requests?
In terms of the company side?
Yes.
Yes, I sleep with my boss.
I mean,
our contractors.
Go ahead.
Our contractors get tickets as needed, and they close them. If I see a need for I need for you 3 days from today, I'm going to give you a heads up. Hey, Steven, are you going to be available 3 days from today? I have some work that I need you to complete for me. Great. And, part of it is you need to be documenting exactly the same way as we document, so that we can put that stuff into the CRM and be able to have a full picture of what's going on. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I guess I was thinking more along the lines of some successful MSPs I've seen where all of the service team gets together, they huddle, they look at the open service requests and determine, like, okay, this one's assigned to me, but I tried working on it yesterday. I ran into this problem. Who can give me some suggestions?
Definitely. Pam just noted on the chat that, yes, we do that once. We go through open tickets once a week. We don't want tickets to be open longer than 3 days. And if on the cycle of the Tuesday meeting, we find that a ticket's been open longer than 3 days, we have to figure out what is wrong here. How do we solve it? Because this ticket has to be closed. This has to be dealt with. And if it's not on us, then we have to push whomever to get it done.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Carlos. I did just post that marketing poll a second time because I screwed up one of the questions. So if you guys could re-answer that poll, that would be super. Now, last but not least, we did not get a chance to introduce Ray because he was not yet here. However, Ray Orsini, big time, is here.
Oh, wow. Start talking about setting the bar high.
So Ray's company is Orsini IT. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And how long has Orsini IT been in business?
I've been doing network engineering for over 25 years. Orsini IT in this instance is since 2011.
And how many managed clients do you have, like the customers?
Fully managed, just north of 1,300.
Okay, so that's endpoints in your RMM?
No, that's clients.
How many endpoints are in your RMM?
We're north of 4,500 endpoints.
Okay, wow, good for you, man. Okay, so That's a lot of endpoints. Mind blown. And then for those of you, I need to do a shameless plug for Ray. For those of you that don't know, Ray also has a partner program for his voice over IP phone solution. And it's awesome.
Thank you.
I use it. I just got one of my clients onboarded, and I think everything's going smoothly, man. I mean, your team onboarded everything for us, and the number port process is going through now, and I'm going to start getting checks, and I don't have to do anything. It's fantastic. So for those of you that think Ring Central sucks, because it does, and for those of you that are using Intermedia for your phone solution, you could be making more money. Talk to Ray.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, now we're going to talk about marketing. And I know everyone here probably has their own thoughts and ideas on how you should do marketing. I think people should just come to me, and I shouldn't have to do any work, and I shouldn't have to try and sell anything. They should just want to work with me because I'm awesome. And it doesn't work like that, apparently. So, Ray, how do I get people to want to throw money at me?
Well, marketing is tough. It's very much you want to be out there. You want to be talking to the customer. You want to be in the conversation, but you don't want to be cheesy. You don't want to be sitting there. We've all had those cheesy sales calls. We've all had those ones where they're pitching stuff that doesn't exist, and they're just reading from a script, something like that. That's the last thing you want to do. So there's a fine line you need to walk. But the first thing, that's sales. The first thing you need to do is market, get out there, get in front of them, which to me is probably the hardest thing in the world. I could sell ice to an Eskimo. I can deliver service. I can close a deal, and I can keep customers happy, on point, and budget. But to me, marketing has always been my personal toughest thing. So I find tools that are going to take that out of the equation for me. In my personal experience, I do things that work for me. I'm good at speaking with people in terms of I find where they're at. I find, let me backtrack a little bit, sorry. I'm still in the mindset of the previous one. Marketing's simple. Marketing is find the people you want to target and then target them. Like anything else, devil's in the details. It's how do you target them, how do you find them, and then how do you reach them? Reaching, thankfully in today's age, you can find names, email addresses, contact information pretty easily. As far as actually contacting them, that's a different story. And then you want to keep track of who you contact. And then in my personal opinion, you want to make sure that you absolutely make the best use of that contact. For that reason, we front load a lot of the effort when I build our contact lists. I will not put partial information. Any of my channel partners knows when they send us requests for quotes. We won't do quotes for partial information. I need name, email, address, phone number, contact information, the full shebang going into my ConnectWise. And it's not because we're going to slam them. It's just because the Orsini IT practice is we don't do anything with half information ever. That little practice has been instrumental in letting us effectively market the people we reach out to. Whether it's that, I keep track of my channel partners, and I know that, when BJ's out selling my stuff, he's kicking ass in California, and, I got to keep that in mind. And I know who the boss is as far as the money's concerned, so I know who would ask for permission on stuff. Or when it comes to Steve, I know with Steve's circles, it's because I keep full and complete information on every one of the people I do business with, whether that's an end user, whether that's a channel partner, whether that's a vendor. When you have that information, you can effectively target your market. You can hyper-localize, and that's where the verticals come into. We all know about the medical verticals, the engineering, the arts and sciences, that kind of stuff. We know about that. How do we make best use of it? Because if I sit there and I start talking to an engineering firm about having salespeople out in the field, they're not going to care. And if I start talking to a real estate office and start telling them about how we can do remote desktop and they can have their, they can have their CAD drawings in the sky, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. So I'm absolutely going to target everything I do at the people I want to hear the message. The other part of that is I look for where they're at and I stay very close to where they're at. Most of you guys know me because I'm all over Reddit, I'm all over Discord, trying to get a little more involved in TechNibble, but I'm all over Spiceworks because my target market, who I've chosen to do business with, as far as the channel partners, is you guys. So where are you guys? You guys are the same place I'm learning stuff from, so that's where I go. It's no different with my engineering firms and my MSP clients in terms of looking at the medical. I'll start to look at where the medical conferences are, and I'll go take lunch in those areas. I'll start to look at who's hosting the conferences, who's hosting trainings, who's hosting webinars, what names keep coming up in marketing, what attorney is putting the next billboard ad and saying, hey, I see a billboard ad because they're targeting slip and fall customers. Okay, but that's a guy that's investing in his business. That's a guy I want to target. That's a guy with a budget. That's a guy that understands how to spend his money, and he's very interested in growth. That's my ideal client. I'm going to target that guy. I'm going to do my homework. I'm going to put him in my CRM. I'm going to blast it out to my marketing tool, which in my case is my Matrix, which I absolutely recommend. But either way, it's the same. I get full and complete data. I hyper-focus on them, get all the information, and I target them so that when the first time I talk to them on the phone, I'm that person's best friend. I know what they had for lunch and what they got rid of at a dinner last night. And that information is critical when you're marketing, because otherwise you're throwing a net out and you have no idea what you're going to hit. When I throw a net, I know what I'm targeting, and I make sure that I make the best use of it. I didn't really have a lot of prepared statements. That's not really my shtick. I was more interested in taking questions from you guys and listening to what you guys had to talk about. Steve, this is being recorded, right?
This is being recorded.
Can I migrate from my Digium to your service? And so, if so, how much headache is it?
The headache is nothing. I was looking. I don't think we have a partner here that found us off Reddit, and he kicked over to 6 or 7 different clients within the same week or 2 weeks. We migrated every single one of them over. No, Cloud Solutions. This guy's a badass. We migrated every one of those clients over. He gave me all the information we need. We did all the transition and had 0 downtime. It was pretty phenomenal. He did some kick-ass work. He gave me what I needed, but my team's very good about transition. If we have downtime, we did it wrong. If you don't get what you had before and have it better with us, we did it wrong. I'm a firm believer in that. So Digium is easy because Asterisk is where I grew up in. That's my thing. Marissa, if you see the questions, please let me know.
Yeah, you got me.
So Ray, what differentiates you between Intermedia's hosted VoIP system, not just for the customer, but for the partner?
I'm here. That's God's honest truth. The customer and the partner, it's the same thing. I tell the customers, my end users, my name's on the company. Orsini's my last name. My wife and my daughter work here. That matters in the sense that you don't want to, we all have vendors that we don't know who the hell the CEO is. We don't know where the buck stops. Now, us as tech people, we do our jobs. We do our due diligence. We're probably more involved into our vendors than most people. But when I'm selling out to customers, I talk to them and I tell them, look, you know that my staff's going to take care of you on a daily basis, but if something comes up, I'm here. I got your back. You know who to reach out to. My cell phone's on my card. You shouldn't ever have to call, but if you need to, my cell phone's on the card. I'd very much rather shake hands, kiss babies, come in during the happy times, but they know if something goes sideways, I'm available, and that's a big deal. Service-wise, let's be honest, phones are phones are phones. They're not complicated. I mean, they have their moments, but that the phone rings, you have ring groups, call queues, auto attendance, music on hold, voicemail to email. Every system has it, except 365, but they're learning. It's hard to differentiate there. Our thing is, I want, and this is I don't want to make this the OIT VoIP show. I want to, you know, but these our ethos, the way we do things is universal, whether it's OIT VoIP, OIT Cloud, or CNIT. It's that I want them to have everything. Our MSP is very much the same thing. We're 150 a user, and we're including almost everything. They're not paying for different things. Our VoIP, we have almost 50 features that we include for free, and we're always adding things. Our methodology is 3 or 4 times a year, we're adding something for free that you're getting extra. You may not use it. You probably won't use everything. That's normal. But we're giving you some extra value for free. And then 2 or 3 times a year, we'll add something that you may want to purchase, and you may not. And if you don't, great. If you do, awesome. But it's not a big deal. We're always giving you something extra. That you will not see from Nextiva, 8x8, RingCentral, AT&T, Intermedia, any other VoIP program, much less any other channel partner program. That's just not how they do things. That is how we do things. So that personal attention and that ethos of always giving the customer something more, whether they ask for it or not, that's hard to find. So I think that's where we stand out. Yeah, and Bob the Builder is mentioning the redundancy. Yeah, we're highly available, geo-redundant, 3 different data centers. You know, I mean, we could have the apocalypse hit 2 of them, and we'd still be fine receiving calls. Not a big deal. During the last major outages, Flow Route Level 3, Intermedia, RingCentral, Vonage, AT&T, 8x8, we got very fortunate that we didn't we didn't get hit. It's luck. It's absolute luck. Everybody has downtime. We all know that, but we've been super fortunate. So very lucky.
So what kind of marketing can a startup or just small MSP do when they don't have much, if any, marketing budget?
You don't need marketing budget. Info USA is free. You have a library card. If you don't have a library card, go get one. I don't farm lists. That's not my thing. I look around me. I look for, just like when I'm learning, just like everybody that's here. And that's why I asked if it's recorded, because everybody that spoke before me, I wish I could have been here earlier, because everybody that spoke before me had something awesome. I wanted to hear about how they did the thing. So I guarantee you I will be going back and listening. But just like the guys that are here, the guys and girls here on the webinar, you want to be around the people that do things the way you want to do things, and the way you can learn from, and find things you want to emulate. My customers are the same thing. I'm not looking through a phone book and looking for every attorney in the phone book. I'm not interested in that. I'm looking for the attorney that's putting up the billboards, doing the marketing, focusing on growth, that's speaking at engagements, that's being presented as a pillar of his own community, of his area of expertise. I want that guy. That's the client I'm going to go after. So you don't have to have thousands of dollars to go after big lists. I'm a big fan of strategic marketing. Strategic attacks is far more profitable than just throwing out the wide net. You have to spend more time using your head. You got to spend more time thinking, determining who you're going to go after. But once you identify that, it becomes very, very easy to start picking out and say, I want a law firm that has at least 3 partners. I'm not saying this is what we do. I'm saying, but as an example, I want a law firm that has at least 3 partners that maybe had at least $1 million in gross revenue last year, and I can find them in at least 5 different publications over the last 5 years. You can find that in Google. You don't need millions of dollars. You need 20 minutes of time. If you're willing to invest that, that's far better than spending $5,000 with a marketing firm, in my opinion, because those come out better. Those come out more profitable.
So what do you feel has been the best marketing you have done to date for your own company?
Best marketing we've done is it's about focusing. You can't do everything. You can't focus 100% on any one thing. That doesn't work. But like you said, focus on what's best. I try to divide my time. I spend 70% of the time on the customers that are going to get me day to day, that are going to pay the bills. I'm not making $1 million on any one VoIP client, obviously, but it comes in, but it's pretty frequent. Sorry, the poll keeps popping up on the screen. But the day-to-day stuff, the VoIP feeds that, so we spend a lot of time on that. just like the MSP, we focus on the customers that are 10 to 25 users, 10 to 50 users. Spend another 20% of the day on the customers a little bigger, maybe 50 to 100 users. And then spend that last 10% of the day or 10% of the week on the customers that are the 100 plus, 250 plus users, the white whales that we want to get. Going toward that strategic marketing has made a big difference. And I'll do those cold calls. And I only devote 10% of my time because I know it's far less likely to close one of those, but if one of those hits, we're all happy, right? We're all taking the group vacation. But time, segmenting my time and focusing my time on on an agenda makes a big deal. And then I use the right tools to get the job done so I don't have to focus. Mind Matrix, you've heard me talk about 1,000 times. I use Jim Connect for my website. They do a great job. I like their content. And I use Mind Matrix for the client engagement, the constant contact of reaching out to the client and sending emails and taking the verticals I've put in my ConnectWise, and I do categorize the clients as they come in. I do that homework so that the healthcare verticals are getting the HIPAA stuff and they're getting the regular MSP stuff, but they're getting stuff directed to them. Or the channel partner stuff, or just getting the channel partners material. And letting those tools do that job for that couple $100 a month means I don't have to focus on it. Because I do place a value on my own time, and I make sure that if I'm going to spend time doing something, it's what I would spend that money doing. If it's not, then I won't spend my time doing it either.
Now, looking at the results from this poll, I see most people are not doing much of any marketing today. Almost everyone does not have a marketing plan or a budget. So what would you say is the easiest thing that somebody can do to start marketing if they complain about not having money, not having time, but not having customers?
I find that usually when you don't have time, money, and customers, it's because you haven't spent the time. You have to spend to make. That's universal. We all know that. Doesn't mean you have to spend money to make money, and it doesn't mean that. But you do. If you can't spend the money, spend the time. What I've seen in my experience, when I've seen these people that have trouble getting new clients, it's because you're spending the time. You've never spent 24 hours without actually using 24 hours that previous day. I guarantee you did something for every second, whether it was playing Xbox or watching TV or watching Netflix or complaining that you didn't have customers. You at minimum spent 24 hours worth of time the previous day. What did you do with that 24 hours? Did you make a plan? Because most people, the old adage, fail to plan, plan to fail. What's your plan? What is your ideal customer? What is your target market? If you built out your MSP the way you wanted it to be, with your VCIO and your technical account managers and your sales and marketing team and your admin, what would it look like? Then you can start building those pieces and determine what you need to create that. But usually the companies that say, I don't have enough customers or I don't have the time to do that, is because they're focusing time doing something else that's not productive. It goes back to what I said. My billable is $250 an hour. If I'm going to sit down and do something, it's would I spend $250 to do what I'm going to do for an hour? And if the answer is no, I'm not doing it. If I can do it with someone else for less than $250, I'm going to hire somebody to do it because that's better use of my time. And that's exactly where my matrix comes in. I can't do what they do for what they charge me. That'd be stupid. So I just pay them. If you can't afford my matrix, not a problem. Those tools are useless unless you plan on how you're going to use them. Don't buy a LabTech. Don't buy a ConnectWise. Don't buy OpenDNS if you're not going to have a plan on how to use it. Once you have your plan, then you can start looking at the tools. But the plan is the biggest thing. Build your plan, then start working toward your plan. I promise you the rest of it will come. And you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you have the plan, you have something to follow along. And you can tweak and go after that. I know.
Thank you, Ray. And what about ConnectWise? Like, you're using ConnectWise for your marketing today, right?
I use ConnectWise for my aggregation of my client contacts. I use it for some directed communication when we have maintenance schedules and stuff like that. But most of my marketing comes from my matrix. I don't do any direct marketing.
And I'm gonna ask you this because I'm just curious. So you're a ConnectWise user. I believe you are a huge proponent of using their tracks system.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you have tracks for marketing, or does it only go into the sales process and service delivery, onboarding, that type of stuff?
We automate everything. 90% plus of the client engagement, the constant contact, the emails that go out, that kind of stuff, that does come out of my matrix, which pulls from ConnectWise. The tracks we have in ConnectWise are more once we've had a customer or we're doing a trial. That was the last track we just initiated a little while back, where we do a VoIP trial. And for the 15 days of the VoIP trial, every day we're hitting them with an email of, did you know? Because marketing is not just about attracting new customers, it's about squeezing that proverbial lemon, getting every last drop. It's getting what we can out of the existing customers, not overcharging them or any nonsense like that. I'm talking about the customers are going to have certain needs. If you deliver those, if you service those needs, you want to be the one servicing your customer. And that's where that constant communication comes into. We've all been in that situation. I tell everybody about where you've had a customer, you've had them for maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they call you and say, hey, Ray, I just signed with XYZ service with this company, and they're going to start next week, and can you work with them to make sure they get it taken care of? And in your head, you're screaming, you're saying, oh my God, why didn't they get that from me? We do this. We've been your provider for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Why didn't you call us for this? At the end of the day, the only person to complain to is yourself. It's your fault. You didn't communicate with them. And that piece is very important. And I've been at fault for that. We've done it 1,000 times. I try to learn from it. But that piece is where the tracks and where my matrix come into play. The track itself, like I was saying with OIT VoIP, I said, well, most people, I've had people leave OIT VoIP and say, oh, because you didn't have this feature. I'm thinking, of course we do. We've had it for years. It's in the documentation. Did you look? And of course they didn't. So, or they'll do a trial, and how many of us, I don't even need to do a poll for this one, but how many of us have signed up with a trial and this product we really wanted to look at and then did nothing for the time of the trial? We end up emailing the asset manager saying, hey, can you extend the trial because I kind of didn't have time for this?
Only every week.
1,000. Exactly. Oh yeah, all of us, right? So, I didn't want that to happen because when I set up OIT VoIP trials, that cost me time. It takes me 10, 15 minutes to set up a trial. So if I set up 100 trials a week, or not a week, maybe 100 trials a month, 15 minutes per, it's eating our time. It's eating our resources. And I want to make sure if I take the time to do it, that they're actually going to use it and they're going to see all the features. But understanding that the end users are busy and the channel partners are busy and the white label potential partners are busy, I do my part. I use my ConnectWise tracks to email them every day and say, hey, did you know, thank you for calling XYZ business. Did you know you could have a professional auto attendant as well? Or did you know about ring groups? Or how about VoIP Anywhere? All the different features that you'll think 6 months from now and think, I would like to have that. I try to do my best in those 15 days to email you and let you know, hey, there's this feature, or this is the thing you didn't look at, or go to the documentation site, the VoIP University, that kind of stuff. And I use the same tracks that on day 4, 8, and 12 put an activity for me so I can call and follow up. Because I spent 15, or one of my staff spent 15 minutes creating the trial. I want to make sure I'm going to take the time to follow up and see if we can't close that deal. I'm not going to lose that fish on the hook. And the ConnectWise tracks play a major part of that. We saw an immediate tangible return from once we implemented the OIT VoIP tracks. I did something where even the people I had done VoIP trials over the last 6 months that we never communicated with, and they kind of just fell off the map, and it happens a lot. How many proposals do you put out there that you never hear from again? I put these tracks, and I purposely put those people into the same tracks. And, I'll tell you, 15, 20% of those people came back and signed. They had forgotten about the trial, but they came back and signed because of the communications.
So, Ray, did you write all of the information that's in the VoIP tracks?
I did, and I'm sorry if it's bad. No, I did write the information in the VoIP tracks, absolutely.
And in your tracks, do you have it, for the most part of your tracks, only just sending out emails to the end users, or do you also
No.
have things like call this person, go on site, that type of stuff?
Create activities, absolutely. As part of our service delivery, as part of the trial stuff, as part of the onboarding, we create regular activities. The tracks keep us on point for, the quarterly, the VCIO stuff. The tracks keep us on point for 30 days after kickoff or after onboarding, that, we're doing a touch call and saying, hey, now that everything's settled, everything's good. Just want to see what your experience was. We want to take the temperature. We use those tracks for a lot of automation. And that's one of the reasons I love ConnectWise. That automation, just anything that I can have that automate that I don't have to remember, is phenomenal. Makes my life that much easier.
For the people that are doing the current poll, I swear it's the last one. I do have a serious question on there, which is, who was your favorite presenter? None of the presenters know this yet, but the winner is going to get a prize.
Nice.
And right now, the winner, my teddy bear, is a close second.
I vote Ernie.
Wait, let me put this out there so I can have a couple people join and start voting.
Yes. So I'd like to open it up because we're actually like 25 minutes over, but I'd like to open it up for questions. Yes, Eric.
Are we closer to an hour over?
Oh, don't be hating. Don't be hating because I got this.
I thought this was a 90-minute. I thought this was a 90-minute, but regardless. So we're over regardless. But with that said, I'd like to open it up for questions that anyone has to any of our panelists regarding any of our topics today. And I think one of the questions that I'd like to ask, Ray, did you have a chance to see the ridiculous onboarding document that Ernest has?
No, and that's what I was asking about. If
it's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a recording, and I think, what does it show us? The first 6 days or something like that?
It's like 4 pages first. Yeah, something like that.
And how many pages are there in the actual document?
Oh, many. I think it's about a 25, 30-page document.
Okay, and I truly, Ernest, I want you to think of a number. And
Between
that
1 and
number,
10?
And that number needs to be how much you will sell that document to people for once you've made it anonymous.
Don't sell it. Do it as a service.
There you go.
Documentation as a service?
MRR. That's always the important one.
No, but seriously, like, I think that document alone would have more value than a lot of things people try to sell to IT companies. And that's not picking on any one person in particular. I feel like a lot of the things that are being sold and told to the IT companies are ideas. Everyone's got a lot of great ideas. There's the people out there that think we should only be charging per user. There's the people out there that think we should only be charging per device. There's the people out there that think we should do a la carte, good, better, best, only one type of price. There's a lot of great ideas, but I think at the end of the day, it's so much more valuable to have actual MSP business owners in here teaching us what is really working for them instead of just all this what if stuff that's out there.
And I think one of the really important things is to make sure that you take all of this as things that are working for us, take it, customize it, tweak it, make it work for you. Your business is going to be different. You're going to have different clients. You're going to have different employees, different talent on staff. This is, it's not a template. It's not here, everybody should do the same thing the same way.
And the other thing is I would probably try to choose one thing and try to implement that over the next 90 days.
Yes.
Please don't take what I said, what Ernest said, what Ray said, and what Carlos said, and try to do everything. Because if you do, you will do nothing. I mean, if you can focus on 1 or 2 strategic priorities over the next 90 days, you will move your business forward. But if you focus 3, 4, 5, 10 ways, you're going to just be floundering in 90 days.
And like you said, perfect is the enemy of good. Don't sit there and try to make it perfect. It's not going to happen. I mean, I consider us a very mature MSP, and we tweak things every day. I get up at 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh, I can change this track, or I can change this documentation all the time. I mean, it's just what it is. But I do,
continuous
it's that planning, that continuous improvement, and that planning. Say, I'm going to focus on marketing today. And this 30 days, this 90 days, whatever your time period, that's my marketing time, and this is what I'm going to do. And I guarantee you'll be better at it.
Tom asks if any of us moved from break fix to MSP. Yeah, that's how we started. We were all break fix, and we were pulling our hair out and wanting to kill people on a regular basis. And basically, we started with our largest client and said, look, you're spending this much money. And what I'm saying, if you're spending this much money about average every month, and then some months you're going like this, and some months you're going like that, how about we normalize this and say this much every month, commit for the year. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, we're reasonable folks. We don't want you stuck in a place where you don't want to be, and we don't want the bad word of mouth. We'll work with you. And the first client we proposed that to said, are you friggin' crazy? And we thought, well, maybe we're doing something wrong with this. We didn't even know what the word MSP was. And the second client we brought this up to said, oh my God, I've been wanting this all along. You've been doing work for us for the last 15 years. We've been wanting a flat bill every month. Great. That's the ball that started it all. So yes, you can move. The way to get to MSP, at least I think, is go from break fix, establish a reputation, show the clientele that you can work with them, that you can solve their problems, that you can be an asset, and then move into MSP. Say, hey, look, you have these wide things. How about we normalize it and make it part of the normal IT budget, and you know every month how much services is going to cost you. Problem solved.
Tom's asked a couple of interesting questions here. How do you jump from being a one-man shop to having employees? You've got to have obviously enough income, which means you have to be charging correctly, which is one of your other questions. And then the second point of that is when you do hire employees, especially your first employee, vet. It's got to be an ideal fit. It's got to be someone who gets your concept, your idea, your business, the direction that you want to head. And you may have to go through 150 people to find that one person. It's worth it.
Our last employee got our process and loved exactly what we wanted so much that he went out and started his own MSP.
Yeah. and that can be a challenge. It's always something that you have to face. That's why with my staff, I ended up paying them based on the number of end users they support. I'm still friends with him. We still meet on a regular basis. Yeah.
When he asks me questions, I answer them. Then I have questions for him. I mean, at least in our market, I don't know about in your market, but in our market, there's enough work for all of us to work every day, all day, and be fat hogs and not have to worry about things. All we have to do is be good about what we do. And if I'm able to help you, and you're able to help me, and we're both making money in the process, what difference does it make?
I have 2 local MSP owners I sit down with on a regular basis and have coffee with. Same thing. It's phenomenal.
At least 3 or 4 in the area that, there's like almost 500 million square feet of covered warehousing space within 2 hours of me. There's enough business for a lot of people.
Yeah, one of my best friends is a competing MSP. And I say competing because we help each other out all the time.
Exactly. One of my greatest friends is who, when we take vacations, we call him first, like, hey, can you cover us? You're laughing because you don't take vacations either, huh?
No, I do. I have my staff, they're trying to find odd ways to distract me. So they're putting up signs in the windows and stuff. No, we do take vacation. I mean, we started this in 2011. We're not a huge shop. We're 8 people plus subs and that kind of thing. But core staff is 8 people. Whenever I take a vacation, I take 3 laptops with me. So that's, for whatever it's worth. I'm still very much in the mindset that I don't leave the house without at least one laptop in the car, just in case. But yeah, we're at the point now where 2015, 2016, or 2016, 2017, it's focused on family. We're leaving next week. We're going to Automation Nation. My family's going to Disney. We do take vacations now, but it's hard to get there.
You wouldn't catch me in Florida in the middle of summer if you put a gun to my head.
I cheat. I put the AC on 64. So
my question to you guys would be, sorry, for the person that you guys said, focus on one thing for the next 30 days and make that one piece of your business better. Let's say, hypothetically, all 4 pieces of my business are in shambles. Marketing, sales, onboarding, and service delivery. Which one thing do I choose?
Can I show you something real quick?
No, you cannot.
You're like, I have a document.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, actually. Here, let me pull it up.
1995.
Yeah, for the low price of free. Here, let me show you my screen real quick.
I got to say this, Ernest is a legend when it comes to documentation. I've never seen anybody share much documentation in Discord as this man does all the time. The guy is phenomenal.
He's a badass.
Yeah. Entre Leadership, Dave Ramsey, absolutely. Read the books.
This has been game changing for me. I mean, it's like, and we really only started using this like a month ago. Between this and then reading the book Traction and figuring out what an entrepreneurial operating system is, that has really helped me find out my priorities. Steve, the reality is we have so much work to do on every aspect of our business that if I can figure out like my number one strategic priority for the next 3 months, if I can just figure out how to have clear direction for the next 10 years, that's a huge step for me. But then we ran this through our team recently, and it was not particularly a fun process having everyone tell us what was broken, confused, and missing. But then it was also really amazing. It was also really amazing finding out what was working. And it's really helping us target what our priorities are over the next 3 months to the next 3 years.
For what it's worth, my boss says that her answer is service delivery. Just saying, that's her answer. She's put it on the chat. I kind of agree. If you do your job right, your customers will do all your marketing and sales for you. We spend a grand total of almost nothing in marketing, and we have clients coming to us, new clients coming to us all the time, and it's because of the word of mouth that comes from our clients because we deliver the service.
Now, I got to say, though, your version of almost nothing and my version of almost nothing are quite possibly 2 very different things.
Pam, can you throw me a number on chat? Basically, I want to say we spend less than $3,000 or $4,000 a year.
Okay, that's not next to nothing for me.
That's pretty low compared to,
In comparison to my net income or my gross income, that is damn near nothing.
Oh,
so
please,
it's a matter of
Carlos,
percentages.
what's your gross income?
You did put that bus right in front of yourself. So.
That's all right. Look, I don't open the kimono for anyone. If you wanna look under the kimono, I have a real quick answer for you. Put up $1 million as a prospectus, and then you can look into my books. And that $1 million is mine, and whether you decide to buy my company or not. You want to look under the kimono? There it is.
Yeah. No. So is the $1 million just for the pleasure of looking at the books, or does that go towards buying it?
That will go towards buying. If you decide you want to look at my books, you want to see my business, you want to see everything underneath it, The minimum entry price is $1 million, and that's not the sale price of the business. It is $1 million to look at it. If you decide you want to buy the business for what I have had the business valued at, I have an accountant that takes care of that for me every year because there's a number. Anybody shows up with the right number and it clears the check, this business is sold, man. I love what I do. I do this every day because I wake up every day ready to work because I love what I do. But at the same time, I have an end goal. My end goal is to be able to retire and to take care of the company, of the non-for-profits that I decided are near and dear to my heart for free. And in order to do that, that number has to be met.
Excellent. Good for you, Carlos.
Let's see.
So just because you guys are wondering, that sale price is actually $385,000
on yours, for your business,
on Carlos's.
I'll write the check right now. Do you take Amex?
We do not take any credit cards. That's another one. I don't know how many of you take credit cards, but I don't take any credit cards because BJ. You show us Dave Ramsey stuff. Do you believe in credit cards? My answer is no. So if I don't believe in using credit cards, then at the same time I don't believe in taking them because I don't want my customers to take that. I can take their ACH. I can take their check. Either one works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a very interesting perspective. So for those of you that are ASCII members, I had the privilege to go to the ASCII Columbus event a few weeks back. And the speaker was, I always can't think of his name. It's the guy that the movie Catch Me If You Can was made.
Frank Abagnale.
Yes, thank you.
Great book. So, read the books. Read that book.
I actually want to look into him more because he's a very fascinating guy, and he was the final speaker at ASCII, and it was a fantastic presentation. He told us the true story, not the movie version. He also said that in this day and age, the only thing he uses is his credit cards. And the reason he says that he only uses credit cards is because, not because he's trying to float debt or anything like that. He's got plenty of money. I can tell that already.
Oh, yeah.
But he does it because he doesn't want to write a check because the check's going to have your name, your address, sometimes your phone number, and the routing and account number to your bank. So that's a great deal of information for identity theft.
But that's on the personal side. On the business side, if you don't have a business checking account, then you're doing something wrong.
Right, but I don't write people business checks. I don't. I just don't. And then he doesn't want to use his debit card or whatever the bank card is, even though it's got that Visa MasterCard logo. What happens when that card inevitably gets hacked and somebody starts buying themselves iPads and whatever else they want to buy themselves on your bank account? For the majority of Americans that are living paycheck to paycheck, if somebody drains their account, they're going to have a really hard time paying some bills. And those vendors...
The beautiful part about this, Steve, is that what works for you, what works for Ernest, what works for Ray, what works for Carlos. If this works for Carlos, cool. I mean, we try.
Oh no,
absolutely.
Well.
I'm not saying Carlos needs to change. I just thought I'd educate you guys on what Frank said. He, and so basically, if your bank account gets drained, and you're one of most of Americans that live paycheck to paycheck, you're going to start bouncing checks to electric and gas and mortgage and everything else. Whereas with credit card, the thing with the credit card is federal law basically says you're 100% safe from
Same thing on
fraudulent
debit.
Activity.
Same thing on debit.
Well, it is. You will eventually get that money back. But the difference with credit card is the credit card company's money has been stolen. I mean, sure, it might affect your available balance, but it's not like money was taken out of your bank account. Whereas sometimes I've seen some of my friends where they're not getting their money back from the bank for weeks or months.
But it depends on the bank, because Bank of America will front you the money. If you, I've had that happen to me before, and they front you. You submit the claim within 24 hours. They'll put that money that's in dispute back into the account. So we've been very lucky on that.
And I think the larger banks do that, but for those people that are using the small community banks, which do sometimes exist, or I'm not sure how credit unions do it. It's just it's sometimes scary. That's all. But that's not to say that people that follow guys like Dave Ramsey, who's a very intelligent man, are wrong. It's just different, like we all agreed on. So with
I'm
that,
different.
With that, do you guys? I know BJ had to take off. Do you guys have any final thoughts, closing statements, anything?
No, I mean, just for me, the biggest thing that changed us from going day to day to actually, profiting and enjoying our spoils was creating those business plans and affecting them, dedicating the time to it. I think if you take that, you dedicate it to anything, whether it's sales, marketing, delivery, documentation, onboarding, or anything else. If you create that plan, you take the time to actually affect that plan, it will transform your business.
The wound is deep, fellas. The wound is deep. Ladies and gentlemen, the wound is deep. You see these results? 5%? Damn, that wound is deep.
I think that would have been higher if I wouldn't have put Steve's teddy bear in there as a joke. To be fair.
So I want to know how would things have been affected if Ernest wasn't holding the documentation that he might provide over everybody's head?
Exactly, that's it.
I think next time we just won't invite Ernest. That way everyone else has a fair chance.
Yeah, because then I won't have an excuse.
Horse crap.
And I feel like the answer to number 5 is pretty expected. And trick question was number 6. It doesn't tell me who said no, so you're all getting emails anyway. Nah.
All right. Eric, thank you, number 1. Number 2, I need to address something that I told someone I would address, and bear with me. I need to find out who sent the message. Someone sent me a message asking me about why we do what we do with nonprofits, okay? And I'm looking through the scroll. I can't find it. It was a private message. If you're still here, the answer is this. We do what we do because those nonprofits matter to us. For whatever reason they may be. For example, there's a local women's and men's homeless shelter that takes 0 tax dollars to operate it. They make everything work based on the donations they get. Okay, that's a cause I can get behind. I hate taxes. I am a libertarian. I believe taxes are a theft, and therefore, even though, anyhow, the way they go about things, I'm on the fence, right? However, they're doing something good for the community. They're doing it without taking my money forcibly. And the good they do far overrides what I disagree with in their methods. And I think that organization deserves my support. That's how I intend to do it. Same thing goes for the Isaac Walton League of America. Conservation of our environment matters to me. And people go, but you drive a diesel car and you hunt. And it's like, yeah, but I drive a diesel car because my diesel car per gallon gives me far more mileage than any car will. And when you average it per mile driven, I'm putting out less emissions than you, unless you're driving a Tesla.
No, wait, I thought you drove a BMW or something like that.
I drive a BMW diesel.
It gets good mileage?
I get, when I'm hammering it on the road, and I mean hammering it, I'm getting 42 miles to the gallon. When I take care of babying it, I can get 48.
Okay, that's pretty impressive, to be honest.
Even a Prius can't compete with that. All right?
Well, not for the luxury and fun you can have with a BMW.
Exactly. So, there's a nun's retirement home that we help take care of, and there's a number of other things that we do. So, to answer the question of whomever messaged me, I hope you're still here to answer it. the answer is we do what we do because we truly care about those things. If someone that is a non-for-profit comes to us that can afford our services, then they're going to pay something for them, right? The ones that cannot afford our services, or where our paying for our services would diminish, truly diminish from their ability to deliver what they deliver, are going to get our services for free if we can manage it. If not, we're going to drastically reduce their expense from wherever it's at, and it's because it matters to us. Okay, well, Scott C. There you go, Scott C. Thanks, Scott. And, you know, whatever your belief system is, if you're in business and you're making money, reach out to the community and pick at least one not-for-profit. You don't have to make so much money that you can't afford to give that one away, and it'll make you have that warm and fuzzy inside, and at least you can say you're making a meaningful impact in your community, and it's truly out of your pocket.
Very cool. How about you, Ernest? What final thoughts do you have for us?
Go fight sell. You know, get out there and look for bottlenecks. Look for the bottlenecks in your business. What's holding you back? What's keeping you from accomplishing your goals? Do you have a goal? That's my thoughts and suggestions. And document everything.
Document everything.
Apparently.
And Tom asked the question, can any of you share your stack from top to bottom? Ray, I want you to answer that question, sir.
I don't think I can remember my whole stack top to bottom. So as far as the customer stack, OAT VoIP, obviously. We use ConnectWise, LabTech, OpenDNS, big fan of that. WebRoot, good, bad, or otherwise. We do use Huntress. I think Veeam for the servers, Cloudberry for the few desktops, laptops that we do back up. We don't back up email, Office 365 or Google. We are resellers for both of those. We include that in our stack, 365 or Gmail. More
and you
Office
said you don't back it
now.
up?
We do not back it up, no.
Okay.
I've looked at it a couple times. I didn't feel it added enough that was worth the cost. I felt the cost could be spent better elsewhere by adding reflection, which we do include. Usually the email continuity solution solves the issue. And the customers that do need Gmail backup or Office 365 backup for a certain use case, we will do it, but that's usually if they need it for compliance purposes or something else. Trying to think whatever else. We use Desk Director. We have one of the legacy plans with them. IT Glue, obviously. I mean, we have 1,000 tools, but the ones that every customer gets, they're in there. We use SonicWall Firewall as a service included with every customer, unless they have something existing that makes good business and technical sense to keep. Everybody knows I'm not a huge fan of Meraki.
You shut your mouth, sir.
Not that it doesn't do a good job of what it does, but I grew up in network engineering and I like to play in the details. So that's my personal thing against Meraki. But I have a customer that has 6 sites across multiple countries, and they have a full mesh VPN all based on Meraki. I'd be stupid to replace it. There's certain cases where we do not rip and replace. Unify for the access points, for the switching, a lot of Unify, edge switches, depending on what I need there. Cisco, if I can't get around it, because I'm not a fan of Cisco either. I think that's pretty much it. I think that covers the bases as far as technology stack.
I would switch reflection with MailRoute myself, but that is pretty close to what we do.
Yeah, and I'm not a lover of reflection either. Their support has been lacking lately. So I will take a look at MailRoute based on your suggestion.
MailRoute is delightful.
I have been really happy with Mail Protector. I had a little glitch with my mail for a couple weeks when I switched from Mail Protector to the Email Laundry to test it, and then back to Mail Protector, and I screwed something up in the MX records. So that was super. But Mail Protectors has actually been pretty great for me. I used Reflection, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, and I feel like I had a lot of issues with it. There was one big issue I had. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, where people that used Yahoo could not email me at all.
That's because
have that
Yahoo's a
issue
spam
now.
service.
Yeah. You may be better off for not having Yahoo email you. So.
Well, but it wasn't just my client. Like, I'm on a nonprofit organization, and one of the people in the organization uses Yahoo for their personal email. So they couldn't contact me, the vice president of the organization, which was super. So I've been pretty pleased with Mail Protector. My stack, I'm an Autotask guy, which already puts me at some type of handicap. So Autotask Endpoint Manager, Mail Protector, WebRoot for antivirus, Cisco Umbrella for content filtering. I use Meraki, Socket Ray,
Ooh.
and
The Play School firewall. I got you.
you know what?
Don't worry, Steven. Not all of us can be perfect.
You know, Eric, you can say what you want, but WebRoot has treated me and my customers the best out of all of the different antivirus tools I've used. None of them are perfect. I did not have any issues when they had their last couple of snafus this year.
We did. We got hit back. We got hit hard on that one.
Yeah, we got very lucky. I don't know how we didn't get hit.
I had a 15-minute period where I personally could not go to Facebook. Not a single client complained.
That must have been hell for you.
I was okay. I did it from my iPad.
Okay.
But you know, something that somebody said to me is it's been sticking with me for a long time. Considering how quickly I like to change things. It was, all of the tools suck. You just need to figure out which one sucks the least for you. So because I heard that, I signed on with Autotask and AEM, and I haven't switched. And I feel like I'm coming on a year.
You decided you were going to go full suck? Is that what it was? No, Steve knows I love busting his chops, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you're using Autotask or ConnectWise, you're probably ahead of the game as far as not to say you can't work without it, because I know Ernest doesn't use either of the two, and he does fantastic,
that poor guy,
amazingly well. But you have to be strong on process if you're not using the tools,
right?
So
and automation and integration.
Yeah.
Now, Tom, to answer your question, how do you afford ConnectWise or Autotask as a one-man shop? I'm a one-man shop. I can easily answer that question. My Autotask, I'm spending $70 a month on, and for that $70, it is making my life substantially easier. My invoicing used to take a couple hours every month. Now my invoicing, just the process of creating invoices, is down to roughly 10 or 15 minutes. So that alone has saved time that I can then put towards billable time, and now I'm actually net $130 at $100 an hour billable. I've made money by going to Autotask. The same thing with Connect Booster. A lot of people think I'm crazy for spending $200 a month on Connect Booster, but the fact is I already suck at bookkeeping, and as I start to get more and more payments coming in, my bookkeeping becomes atrocious. And then,
Steven?
What's that?
How long have you been in business? How long have you been doing this? This
7+
specifically?
years.
Okay.
Over 7.
Okay. So the MSP thing, you're talking MSP for 7 years?
I started as an MSP, and I'm still doing break fix today.
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey man, I gotta take the money where it comes.
No, without a doubt. Where I was going with it is that we all suck at accounting.
Oh, yeah.
So anytime you can outsource that and spend that hour doing billable time, bill it, man. Bill it.
But not everybody agrees with that. So that's why I wanted to say, I use Connect Booster. Now instead of spending an hour trying to figure out, all right, this deposit was which checks again, now everyone just pays me online with Connect Booster and everyone's happy. They're happy they get their points on their credit cards because I accept credit cards. I'm happy because it marks the invoices paid and it creates the deposit, and I don't have to do anything in QuickBooks other than throw money in the air and
make it rain.
Make it rain on everyone's favorite pole.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, to those asking how do I afford it as a one-man shop, if I look at my time and I look at how billable it is, and I look at how important it is to direct my time to the right efforts,
mm-hmm.
It's 10 times more important for you one-man shops, because I don't have 24 hours a day. I have 24 hours times 8 staff members. Well, 8 hours a day times 8 staff members. But the point is the same. I can diversify my tools. I can diversify what we need to get done. You don't have that. If you're a one-man shop, you're doing it all yourself. You
mm-hmm.
better be sure. It's even more crucial that what you're doing, what you're spending time on, is absolutely the best use of your time.
And that's why I use tools like Meraki, because while I would love to pop in and, tweak all these weird settings in a command prompt, I don't have time. I just want to click a couple buttons in a pretty graphical interface and be done with it.
And that's what I was saying earlier. It's entirely up to your business and your what talent you have within your business. If you've got engineering and programming talent, go write your own stuff. Fantastic. That's awesome. You have full control of it. But for those of us who don't have that in-house, tools are what we use to get the job done.
So what if my talent doesn't do my MSP practice any good? Like, I'm really good at playing bass and putting on webinars.
Then you should become a musician full time and see if you can get paid to host webinars. Do you wake up in the morning excited to do what you're doing? If you're not,
I am. I love it.
Then
as business owners, we are always standing in our own way. We are always the worst thing in our business. So that's normal.
Webinars as a service, yes.
You could probably drive to Chicago, and that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I've never been to Chicago. I hear
you're not missing much.
I hear there's a giant mirror beam. Now I know it's not Mexican and it's not jumping.
It's called the Cloud Gate. It's called the Cloud Gate, and yes, it's actually pretty nice to look at. It's pretty spectacular.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
thank you everyone for attending and letting me ramble at the very end there about this poor guy who needs a vacation.
So I'll be joining Steven's normal Zoom when we get off of here. So if you have any questions for me, drop them there.
I'll probably just stay on this one for a little while.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just stay here.
I mean, there's so many people. Why would I leave?
This is far more attention than you ever get, right?
I know. I am going to stop recording. Hey, thanks for watching the webinar on MSP Processes and Procedures. I have a lot more webinar ideas planned, so if you're interested in staying up to date on upcoming events, please go to msp.tayloritgroup.com, fill out the sign-up form to get added to my mailing list. I promise I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell your contact info. This list is only for me to let you guys know about events I have coming up. Thanks so much again for attending, and you have yourself a great day. Take care.